people of the World Wide Web. So it's Cypher Sigma here. It's a weekend, and as we know, and the title, which it's a movie review time. Yes, this is for 2025's probably coming up to be most successful horror. Maybe not. I don't know. It's done quite well within its opening weekend. But yes, this is Weapons. So this is from director Zach Cregger, if I got it, previously from Barbarian, which I did watch, I think it was last year or the year before. Runs for 2 hours and 8 minutes, has no after credit scenes, and features quite an ensemble cast. So we have Julia Garner as Justine, a school teacher, Josh Brolin as Archer, a parent of a missing child, Alden Ehrenreich, if I've got that right, obviously Han Solo from the young one. He is called Paul. He's a local cop. We have Carrie Christopher as Alex, Benedict Wong as Marcus, the head teacher, and Austin Abrams as James, who's a drug dealer. And then we have Amy Madigan as Gladys. And you have these characters in this world. Essentially, if you haven't seen the trailer, you don't know what's going on. We have this cast. One morning at 2:17, 17 kids, all from one class, get up and all run off into the distance and are kind of not seen again. They are all from one class except for one boy, Alex. He is the lad that still remains. And then it's essentially, this is a story from six different perspectives. Kind of chronologically going back a little bit, kind of building on this story to figure out what has kind of gone on and who is responsible and stuff like this. I did enjoy it. I say there's nothing after the credits, so you don't have to wait. As soon as the credits go, you can get out of there. So we will put the spoiler warning up and we will get into this movie. So yes, as I say, it starts off with obviously all these kids disappearing. The movie, as I said, is separated into different characters. So we have Justine. So she is the teacher of all of these kids. Apologies, a bit of a cold. She doesn't know what happens. Obviously, everybody blames her. So the story starts off with her being kind of interviewed. There is a young girl who narrates this kind of story, explains kind of what has happened, and Alex is getting interviewed and Justine is getting interviewed. And then you have like a PTA session before the school starts, and then this is where you meet other characters like Josh Brolin and that, where they are very critical of her. She tries to kind of talk, and no one really wants to listen. They believe because it's her class and it's everyone in her class except one lad. She had something to do with what she was doing. So she goes home, or on the way home goes to get some alcohol and goes home. There are some knocks at the door. Then someone paints witch in red letters on the side of her car, and she's kind of being a bit victimized. A little bit later, she is told by Marcus, Benedict Wong's character, that they don't want her near the school because she is getting a lot of attention, so to speak, from the parents of everything that's going on, and because she's kind of overstepping her bounds, trying to be a good person, I think, but obviously it's not being taken that way as 17 kids have disappeared. You then have her meeting up with Paul, who's her ex, obviously, and I assume in AA recovery. They get drunk, they have a wild night, and then the next day when she is shopping, her Paul's current girlfriend obviously has come home, attacks her in the shopping mall, and then you kind of have her at the pumps, and as she's at the pumps and Marcus kind of runs out, or will run out. We don't kind of get to see that scene, and then it skips back, and then we see Archer, so Josh Brolin's character. He's a dad of one of the kids, Matthew. He is obviously quite distraught. He sleeps in the kid's room. And then he is trying to logically working out. So he has Ring doorbell footage, and and you notice that there are certain interactions with him with other characters. I won't say everything that's gone on, but yeah, he starts trying to figure out. He goes to the police station and queries it and says, like, there is something going on. Why have you not finding it? And like, are you doing everything? And get, it's basically a scared parent have lost their child and they want everything to be done. He then kind of starts piecing a few things together. In between having his Ring doorbell footage, and then he finds another parent and manages to get hold of their footage, and then correlates it, and where the kids are kind of running to. It kind of he points one area, but obviously you never know if they run in a straight line and how the kids are going. So he knows within that area, so to speak, something the kids could be going to. He only gets 2 to 17. Why he doesn't get more, I do not know. In between this, he then approaches the Justine character, who he kind of blamed at the beginning. He was the one at the PT session, kind of blaming her. And kind of as he's at the fuel station to talk to her because he thinks that she's not responsible for something else, this is where Marcus then runs out of nowhere and starts trying to attack her, very zombified. And then we switch, and then we go to Paul, so we find out Paul's side of the story. He's a cop, he's a little bit of, has a few issues, so to speak. He comes across James, goes to the restroom, gets stuck with a needle, then ends up punching him. He then has to report this to his potential father-in-law, who's like the head of the police. Obviously, he says, there's things going on, you need to sort yourself out. And then this is when he goes to the bar and meets Justine, and obviously he ends up getting drunk, falling off the thing, sleeping with her, and that's when kind of stuff down spirals a little bit for him. He does, after punching out James, he then tells James to like leave alone, but then he does see him come back to the police station and kind of chases him. This is when you then go to, I think, is it James, or is it, I can't remember if it's Marcus or James. So Marcus, we'll go James' side of things. So you get to see James Druggy, his side of things, of his, obviously, of him struggling, obviously he's an addict, trying to find money and stuff like this. In between going through this, he then breaks into the house, which we find out is Alex's house. There are his mum and dad are kind of stationary on the sofa, which Justine does come across a little bit earlier. In between there, he finds all the kids down in the basement, but then runs out because weird stuff starts happening to him. And this is when he goes to the police because he finds out there's a reward and he wants to claim the money. Obviously, but as Paul chases him, they basically have a conversation. He said the kids are there. Paul takes him to the house, disappears into the house, then comes out and drags him into the house. All a bit weird, this whole house and what is going on and stuff like this. We then have Marcus's character, so he's the head teacher, and then you get to meet Gladys. So Gladys is Alex's grandma's sister, if I say auntie sister. She is very ill. She comes to stay with them, supposedly, and she's and you kind of get to meet her, and she's kind of being the vocal point for the family. From previous scenes that the parents seem to be in some sort of kind of weird state. So she says something's happened and she's gone to look up. She's very distinct in the look, ginger hair, very bright white face paint and red, kind of a bit clown. And in between this, there have been 3 of the previous people that we've met have actually kind of seen her. Justine has had a dream where she was on the roof of her bedroom. Archer had a dream where she was within kind of his kid's room. And James, just before he gets handcuffed by Paul the second time, he sees her in the middle of the forest, kind of waving at her. And this is it's kind of it feels like a little bit of it, some of her characteristics and stuff. Anyway, you find out that she's staying with him, helping him out, and then you kind of rewind and you get to see Alex's story. So this is the kid, and essentially he seems like a quite shy boy, gets picked on a little bit. He lives with his family. His mum has decided to take their aunt in because she's ill and they believe she's hospital. She turns up with this plant. They help him in, and then the next day you find out she is some sort of witch, and she basically is kind of draining the parents to kind of make herself better. Forces Alex to kind of to be her kind of minion in the house to look after the parents and stuff because they're in kind of a vegetative state. And then kind of leads to her basically kidnapping all these kids and controlling these people, and you get to see her throughout doing this. This resolves into the point that things start to escalate because all the people that end up getting involved, like the police officer and that she says they have to, she says she's preparing. Once the night is finished, they will move and they will be moving somewhere else. In between this, Justin and Archer have kind of come to the thing that is Alex's house is in this area. They believe that's where it is. They go there. Paul welcomes them in. Then Paul and James attack the 2 of them and they're fighting. You then have Archer's pushed into the basement and he sees all the kids. Justine shoots Paul in the head twice to trying to get away from him, but then Alex tries to get to Gladys, breaks this line, and then his parents are trying to attack him. What he manages to do in between all this is find parts of Gladys's tree or the log that she has the kids in there. Manages to get a bit of her hair from a wig while he's trapped in the toilet, and kind of does the ritual that she does, which then leads to probably one of the best scenes I've ever seen. That you have this old lady running for her life with 17 suicidal teenage or younger than teenage kids smashing through walls, fences, just literally chasing her down. And the scenes of the neighbours of just one guy mowing his lawn, seeing this old lady go, "Oh no, help me!" and then 17 young kids just chasing her down. An absolutely amazing scene. This scene kind of elevated the story for me, but was well done. Very, very, very. You will see at the end, my rating for this has gone up because of that scene, and then they end up pulling it apart, and then you kind of have a narration. Obviously, Alex's parents go to kind of a mental hospital. He goes to another aunt who looks after her. All the kids are recovered, but only a few of them start to speak after a year or so, and that is it. The end. So, what did I think of this movie? I give it a 6.4 out of 10. I was thinking it was more in the fives, but that chase scene at the end was a stroke of genius. And as a almost finishing the film on that was a great way to end it, and that's a lasting memory. And I think that has to be given some acknowledgement. Now, it's not a perfect movie. It's done really well, so we're probably going to get a second one. I suspect we will get some more of about Gladys. We don't get to see much about Gladys or understand her, because we know she's a witch, and the kind of having witch painting on the side of Justine's thing was quite apt. I liked how they kind of did that to kind of subtly put it in. And they mentioned parasitic stuff throughout this movie. It's on a video that Benedict Wong's character is watching. Justine is teaching a class about it and stuff, and there's stuff on the blackboard in the background. And I'm currently watching an anime called Parasite as well, so that definitely stuck with me. So I can get that being a witch and kind of being controlling people and the impact that has. I found Justine's character a little bit annoying, but I think that's how she is supposed to be, because obviously everything she's going through. I think the character could have been a little bit warmer, because obviously she does have a good heart. It just wasn't necessarily explained in the small 20 minutes odd look we got to see her story. There was obviously different bits. There are bits of Paul's character where you meet characters that would have then interacted with other people that you kind of get to see, but then magically disappeared. And I think having these kind of 6 storylines, and even though it was 2 hours and 10 minutes, it could have been another 20 minutes and you could have elaborated stuff, or just taken characters out and changed the story a little bit. It might, because it just felt like there was a few loose ends, like Justine being attacked was then kind of overlooked, and the fact of obviously Paul's potential father-in-law would have been a lot more involved, that he went missing for like a day or so and stuff like this. There's just stuff that didn't quite fit within the realms of this story, from A to Z. There was a few letters missing there. I say there wasn't much of Gladys's backstory, but I'm assuming that's left for what we will probably get is some sort of prequel story. And also Archer doing the story things. He says like the FBI in it, and we only get to see the FBI when Gladys is kind of involved. But there's a lot of loopholes that are like, oh, her dad's had a stroke and stuff like this, and she was interrogated, and there was a house search, and this was all done at the beginning. But at no point was the headmaster spoken to, and none of that has been conveyed to him, even though this has kind of been done in there are just a few little bits that don't kind of add up. There are bits from Justine where Alex is coerced to get something from all the kids, and he goes and takes all the stickers off the front of it, and Justine recognises when they're doing PE that Alex walks off back to the school, back to his classroom. She's going there, are you all right? Can tell something's not quite right. He goes, and not at any point does she go, hang on, everybody's name is missing from their boxes. Not only that everybody's name went missing from their boxes the day before, 17 out of the 18 kids then went disappearing. A few little bits like this didn't quite ring true to me, and I said it threw the story off a little bit, which I said why it was more in the 5 range. It was that, but yeah. But at the end of the day, really enjoyable movie. Horror, that I enjoyed, and that end scene is probably why I will pick this up. Probably not a launch, probably a later day. But have you seen the movie Weapons? Oh, also, it's called Weapons. Apart from a dream about, I think it's like an assault rifle with the time on it, and I mentioned that Gladys is kind of weaponizing the kids. There's no other mention of weapons, and I assume that that's it. She's just weaponizing the kids, and maybe the title is meant to be a bit misleading. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts and feelings of this movie down in the comments below. I've been Cypher Stick for Screen Time, and I shall definitely see you in the next one.